Grand piano, the original form of the instrument. Bartolomeo Cristofori, a Florentine instrument builder working for the Medici family, documented his first working hammer-action keyboard in 1700 and called it the gravicembalo col piano e forte, harpsichord with soft and loud. By the 1870s, Steinway & Sons had perfected the modern concert grand, introducing the overstrung scale and cast-iron frame that allowed for the string tension and dynamic range we associate with the instrument today. The horizontal wing shape allows for long bass strings and an unobstructed soundboard, producing a full tonal spectrum from around 27 Hz in the lowest register to over 4,000 Hz at the top. The double escapement action, patented by Sebastian Erard in 1821, allows the hammer to reset without the key fully releasing, which is what makes rapid repetition possible. Grand pianos run from a 4'7" parlor instrument at around $10,000 all the way to the 9-foot Steinway Model D concert grand at $210,000. Every major concert hall in the world is equipped with one.
Baby grand piano. The baby grand occupies the same basic form as a concert grand, but scaled down to between 4'6" and 5'6", compact enough for a large living room, aspirational enough to justify the price tag. The category was formalized in the early 20th century as manufacturers responded to growing demand from middle-class households who wanted the prestige of a grand without a dedicated music room. Because the string length is compressed, bass resonance and sustain are shorter than a full-size instrument, a trade-off every salesperson will try to talk around. Yamaha's GB1K starts at around $5,000. Steinway's Model S, the smallest in the line at 5 feet 1 inch, runs around $70,000. Martha Argerich keeps one at home.
Upright piano. John Isaac Hawkins, an English engineer living in Philadelphia, patented the first true upright piano in 1800. He called it the portable grand and ran the strings vertically from the floor, which was the key innovation. Robert Warnham in London refined the compact upright action in 1826, and by 1880, uprights had completely replaced square pianos in European and American homes. The vertical string orientation means the soundboard faces the wall rather than the room, which limits projection, but it also means a footprint of roughly 5 feet wide and 2 feet deep. Modern professional uprights, like the Yamaha U3 or the Kawai K500, sit at 52 inches tall and retail around $5,000 to $8,000. The U3 specifically has been the de facto standard in conservatory practice rooms for decades.
Console piano. The console is a compact upright, typically between 40 and 44 inches tall, designed specifically for the domestic market where a full upright is too imposing. Henri Pape in Paris introduced the first overstrung console design in 1828, crossing the bass strings diagonally over the treble to allow longer strings within a smaller case, a geometry now used in virtually every piano built. The action in a console is indirect or drop action, meaning the hammers sit below the keys and are pushed up rather than driven forward. This limits the mechanical precision compared to a taller instrument, which is why serious pianists avoid them. Price range sits around $2,500 to $5,500. They are the most common piano found in suburban living rooms.
Spinet piano. The Spinet is the smallest and most mechanically compromised of all acoustic piano formats, typically under 40 inches tall and built for apartments and tight spaces. Baldwin and Wurlitzer popularized the style in the 1930s as a Depression-era budget option. The Spinet uses what is called an indirect or oblique drop action. The hammer shanks actually sit below the keys and are linked by a sticker rod, which introduces additional mechanical slack and reduces dynamic sensitivity. Okay, that name, oblique drop action, is genuinely one of the most ominous phrases in piano tech. Steinway, Bosendorfer, and Yamaha have never built a Spinet. Production of new Spinets effectively ended in the 1990s. Used Spinets now sell for $200 to $800. Technicians often advise against buying one.
Fortepiano. This is the original instrument, the piano forte, as built between roughly 1700 and 1830, before the modern iron-framed grand superseded it.
Johann Andreas Stein in Augsburg built the instruments Mozart preferred, and Mozart wrote to his father in 1777 that Stein's Fortepianos had a quality that no other maker had matched. Anton Walter, whose workshop was in Vienna, built the instrument Mozart actually owned, and Beethoven explicitly asked to buy one. Conrad Graf, whose instruments Beethoven received in the 1820s and Schumann got as a wedding gift, is widely considered the Steinway of his era. The Fortepiano's leather hammers and wooden frame produce a sound closer to a harpsichord than a modern piano, bright, articulate, with less sustain and a narrower dynamic ceiling. The entire classical and early Romantic piano repertoire was written for this instrument.
Electric piano. Harold Rhodes spent the Second World War teaching injured soldiers to play piano using instruments small enough to sit on a hospital bed. After the war, he partnered with Leo Fender in 1958. The first full-size Fender Rhodes appeared in 1965. In 1970, the Rhodes stage piano, 73 keys, detachable legs, single output jack, became the portable standard. Instead of strings, the Rhodes uses thin metal tines struck by hammers. The tines vibrate next to electromagnetic pickups, and the signal runs to any keyboard amplifier. Stevie Wonder, Herbie Hancock, and Chick Corea defined the warm, bell-like tone of the instrument across jazz and soul through the 1970s. A restored vintage Rhodes Mark I now sells between $2,000 and $4,500 depending on condition. In 1976, Rhodes posted a claim that 82% of the top 100 Billboard albums featuring electric piano used their instrument.
Digital piano. In 1984, Kurzweil demonstrated the first credible PCM-based piano sample with the K250. 2 years later, Roland changed the standard entirely with the RD1000 stage piano, the first true digital piano, using structured/adaptive synthesis rather than static samples. Elton John took it on tour. The digital piano replicates acoustic piano sound through recorded samples or physical modeling and reproduces touch through weighted key actions. Modern instruments, like the Yamaha CLP 845 Clavinova, use real wooden key actions, sampled from both the CFX Concert Grand and the Bosendorfer Imperial. Price range runs from $500 for entry-level instruments to $7,000 for flagship Clavinovas. No tuning, no humidity sensitivity, no technician required. They remain the primary learning instrument for most of the world's piano students. Hybrid piano. Yamaha launched the first Avant Grand series in the early 2010s, 3 models with actual acoustic grand piano key actions, real wooden keys, but no strings and no soundboard. The hammers strike optical sensors instead of strings. The sound is delivered through a 4-point speaker system that replicates the spatial signature of a concert grand. No tuning, no humidity management, no technician required. But the physical action is mechanically identical to a real grand piano. A quick warning though, the price range starts at $10,400 for the N1X and reaches $19,600 for the grand-shaped N3X, which means you are paying acoustic piano prices for an instrument that is technically digital. Current models sample from both the Yamaha CFX and the Bosendorfer Imperial.